Dilip and welcome to Tibet This Week, where we bring you weekly news edition on Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Central Tibetan Administration. Let's have a look at today's headlines. Sikyong Penpa Tsering congratulates India on its 78th year of independence. Sikyong Penpa Tsering attends inaugural of 6th General Body Meeting of Tibetan Traders Association in Ludhiana. Sikyong Penpa Tsering graces Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts Annual Culture Competition, Yarkyi. Tibet Policy Institute organizes a talk session with former Indian Ambassador Dilip Sinha on his recent work, Imperial Games in Tibet. Core Group for Tibetan Cause India convenes committee meeting. Office of Tibet-Taipei hosts ceremony for transition of new Tibetan Association executive members and celebrates US Resolve Tibet Act. On Thursday this week, the Central Tibetan Administration celebrated the 78th year of India's independence at the courtyard of Tibet building of Central Tibetan Administration. The gathering was attended by heads and officials of the Central Tibetan Administration and standing committee members of the Tibetan Parliament in exile. Sikyong led the ceremony of flag raising of international flag, followed by his address to the media.
It's ironical that India got its independence in 1947, and 3 years later we lost our independence. In fact, many countries around the world, particularly after World War II, gained independence from colonial rulers. But unfortunately, the wave of communism that enveloped the region also enveloped Tibet under the forceful occupation by China. And we still remain as political refugees here, and we also take inspiration from India's independence that we too will get to return back to Tibet as a free nation, as a people who can practice its freedom in preservation and promotion of its identity in terms of language, culture, religion, way of life, and particularly Tibet's environment. That's not only important for Tibet but for the whole world. So it is a joyous occasion for Indians to celebrate, but for us as Tibetans, we enjoy with you, but at the same time we also think about and long for a day where we also get to celebrate our freedom. Many, many greetings to all our Indian friends. Thank you.
On 8 August, Sikyong Penpa Tsering attended the opening ceremony of the 6th General Body Meeting of the Tibetan Traders Association held at the King Palace in Ludhiana. The event was also graced by the notable guests, including Secretary Tsering Thuntup from the Department of Finance, Naveen Sood, President of the Indo-Tibetan Hosiery Association, K.N. Kapoor, President of the Lala Tibetan Hosiery Association, and Asha Rath, President of the Delhi Jafrabad Lala Association. In his address, Sikyong expressed deep appreciation for the unwavering support from the Indian business associations. He reflected on the historic relationship between India and Tibet, particularly India's role in providing asylum following Tibet's annexation by the People's Liberation Army. Sikyong further highlighted that the 16th Kashak views trade as a crucial means for sustaining Tibetan settlements in India amid the depleting Tibetan population. He encouraged Tibetan traders to comply with local laws and called on the General Body members to collaborate in improving support for Tibetan traders. Approximately 200 Tibetan traders from 170 regions participated in this 3-day meeting. In total, there are 238 trading regions where Tibetans engage in small-scale business seasonally or annually. The Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts marked its 65th founding anniversary with the annual cultural competition Yarkyi at the Institute's main auditorium on 11th August in the gracious presence of Sikyong Penpa Tsering. The event featured 2 competing groups, Ngömba and Gelu, with the Ngömba group sweeping victory in all 4 categories. Along with Sikyong Penpa Tsering as the chief guest, the event was also attended by special guests, liaison officer Yashbir Singh and Ram Swarup, president of the Indo-Tibetan Friendship Association, and other distinguished guests. In his keynote address, Chief Guest Sikyong Penpa Tsering lauded the hard work and dedication of the Tibetan artists for their impressive performances. In addition, Sikyong acknowledged the lifelong dedications of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and elder generations of exiled Tibetans for their contribution to preserving and promoting Tibet's unique cultural heritage through the establishment of cultural institutions and nurturing of Tibetan artists. On Wednesday this week, the Tibet Policy Institute held a seminar to hear insights from the former Indian ambassador to Greece, Sri Dilip Sinha, who has recently published his work, Imperial Games in Tibet, The Struggle for Statehood and Sovereignty, where he discussed on how Tibet emerged as a playground for the geopolitical aspirations of its neighboring empires. The talk session was attended by Tibetan parliamentarians, secretaries of the Department of Finance and DIR, secretary of the Office of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and Tibetan researchers and media personnel based in Dharamshala. The former Indian diplomat, Dilip Sinha, in his 2-hour-long talk, delved into how Tibet became a focal point in the 19th century during the great game rivalry between the British and Russian empires, and how Tibet was converted into a buffer state for the two empires that eventually benefited China in its false claim over Tibet. The speaker further shed light on India's foreign policy concerning Tibet after the latest illegal occupation by the People's Republic of China and how the current plight of Tibet resulted from a series of miscalculations and misfortunes. Later that afternoon, the former ambassador and his wife, Shirmi Sinha, met and interacted with Sikyong Penpa Tsering at the Kashak Secretariat. The core group for Tibetan Cause India convened a committee meeting on Sunday at the Bureau of His Holiness the Dalai Lama in New Delhi. The meeting was chaired by Sri R.K. Krime, National Convener of Core Group for Tibetan Cause India, and attended by prominent figures including Jingmi Jungne, representative of the Bureau of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Tenzin Lekshe, Additional Secretary of the Department of Information and International Relations, Central Tibetan Administration, and National Core Conveners Venerable Lama Chospel Zotspa, Sri Surinder Kumar and Sri Arvind Nikose, Sri Pankaj Goyal, Delhi Regional Convener, was also in attendance. The agenda included an active discussion on both new and existing suggestions from members of various Tibet support groups in India. The meeting was facilitated by the India-Tibet Coordination Office and focused primarily on the core group's bylaws governing Core Group for Tibet Cause India. The Office of Tibet in Taipei held a gathering to celebrate the U.S. enactment of Resolve Tibet Act concurrently with the ceremony of taking over the charge by the newly elected executive members of the Tibetan Association of Taiwan on 11th August. Representative Kesa Gezebawa, Office of Tibet Taipei, welcomed the new members and encouraged them to collaborate with the Office of Tibet in future undertakings, particularly in preparations for the forthcoming 90th birthday celebration of His Holiness and in programs designed to promote Tibetan language usage amongst young Tibetans in Taiwan. Following that, a celebration expressing gratitude to the U.S. government for approving the Resolve Tibet Act was held in the presence of staff of the Office of Tibet, members of the Tibetan Association, members of Tibet support groups, and members of Taiwan-based Students for Free Tibet. That is all the news for this week's edition of Tibet This Week. Thank you so much for watching.